This episode of Musical Hell is brought to you by Midnight Musicals. Welcome to the podcast Musical Underground. Thank you. Greetings, mortals. Welcome to another session of the Infernal Court in Musical Hell. I'm Diva, your judge, jury, executioner, and tormented being condemned to eternity for reasons that no longer make sense, but I'm not bitter or anything. Sorry, where was I? Oh, right, our next offender, the Devil's Carnival. This is Darren Lynn Bozeman and Terrence, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Zdunich's follow-up to Repo the Genetic Opera, and pretty firmly establishes them in the Tim Burton, Baz Luhrmann, Wes Anderson school of being all about the aesthetic, which is a bit of a double-edged sword for creators. On one hand, it gives them a unique calling card, a stylistic flair that is instrumental in developing a devoted audience. On the other, when you have that distinctive style, it can feel like the atmosphere overshadows things like character and plot. And in this case, well, let's examine the case of the Devil's Carnival and we'll get into that. The film opens on Paul Sorvino as God, and because he's Paul Sorvino in a Bozeman film, he's basically the face of oppressive authority. In this case, he's a doll maker working in a Victorian-era garage sale, only he's not very good at his job because he keeps messing up his creations and tossing them into the broken bin. This isn't symbolic at all or anything. Next, we get glimpses of three people's lives, or rather the tail ends of them. John, a grieving father, is about to go all Sweeney Todd on his wrists. Tamara's attempt to get away from an asshole boyfriend is in the process of ending badly, and thief Ms. Merrywood has been cornered by the police and is about to go at them guns a-blazing, possibly hoping her white womanness will protect her. And that's when things start getting weird. Bozeman, as I said before, has a very distinct aesthetic, and it's the kind of aesthetic that can get overwhelming in a big hurry. Don't get me wrong, when it works, and it works frequently both here and in Repo, it's good, but when it doesn't, it's kind of like having a bad drug trip in the middle of a spirit Halloween store. So the main characters wake up down here, which is imagined as a kind of nightmarish Coney Island. I gotta admit, some of my personal ideas of hell look very similar. John is now dressed in hobo chic, Tamara is kitted out like a Barbie Land extra, and Ms. Merrywood is a ringer for an Agatha Christie villainess. But let's leave them for the moment and join Bob Fosse's Cirque du Soleil. Look, I get that everything is all evil and ooh spooky, but can we at least light it a little better? Fire is not one of the things we lack for down here, you know. A steampunk stage manager, good name for a band, called the Ticket Keeper announces the acts for the upcoming performance. One of the scheduled performers, the Scorpion, hasn't shown up for the staff meeting, so Ticket Keeper sends a broken Dresden type named the Painted Doll to go hunt him down. An extremely fey ringmaster type isn't pleased that he's not on the call sheet, but Ticket Keeper informs him that the boss will be overseeing this particular performance, which shuts him up pretty quick. Meanwhile, the new arrivals are still trying to figure things out.
Where the hell am I?
You're the hell here.
This movie is only 55 minutes long, including credits, and we're 10 minutes in. Shouldn't we focus a little less on the atmosphere and more on the story by this point?
Welcome to Come On, Devil's Carnival! You're the Devil's Carnival!
Or maybe we'll get sin number 3, the title song. Zdunic can write some good music. Go back and watch Chase the Morning if you don't believe me, but this winds up being less spooky and more tedious. We do get a little exposition in the midst of it, though, which is that the carnival performance will reflect the sins of the main characters, and the outcome will be determined based on whether or not they can overcome their tragic failings, which doesn't seem very likely because, you know, hell. Ms. Merrywood finds John, and, correctly intuiting that he's not one of the local weirdos, hooks up with him for safety. They arrive at the entrance of the carnival, where the ticket keeper notices Ms. Merrywood's enormous amount of bling and directs her to a booth offering an enormous diamond as a grand prize. John just wants to find his son, but the ticket keeper informs him that he must abide by the rules in a song that's very short on actually explaining said rules, but very clear on how many of them there are. Go on, you'll never guess how many.
666. 666.
Okay, maybe you will guess. Anyway, let's go check on Tamara, who has come upon a slick Danny Zuko meets Billy Bigelow type locked in a cage.
Come on, I'm not gonna bite.
This is the Scorpion, I'm guessing because he has a big honkin' tattoo of one on his neck, and Tamara is instantly taken by his bad boy mystique. I know we've expanded a lot down here, but I'm not sure there's a circle for chronically bad relationship choices. Meanwhile, John is still milling around the carnival. A surprising amount of this movie is people milling around, and thinks he sees his son Daniel running around in Oliver Twist cosplay and carrying an It balloon. He follows the boy into a tent where we get sin number 4, Kiss the Girls.
Here's the hive, where are the bees? Buzzing around where nobody sees. But here is the church, open the steeple. Ready or not, steeple the people.
You ever get the feeling that certain creators use the horror genre as a means for indulging some weirdly specific fetishes? That's pretty much the only reason I can think of for this scene, in which a bunch of sexy clowns manhandle John like they're reenacting Torgo's death. Apart from some random playground rhymes, it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with John's whole deal, which is his inability to move on from his son's death. Neither does the ensuing sequence where he tries unsuccessfully to get information from a kissing booth girl. It's okay, his ear grows back. Hell operating on Prometheus rules is a pretty good idea, and like a lot of the other pretty good ideas this movie has, needs a lot more time to be properly explored. Meanwhile, Daniel, or whatever it is that looks like Daniel, goes into another tent where the boss himself is holding story hour. The theme for the day is Aesop's Fables, and we begin with the dog and her reflection, a heavy-handed allusion to Ms. Merrywood. She's still looking for that big diamond and going all Karen on the hobo clowns.
Fetch me a supervisor at once.
As a result, she gets cited for littering and gets whipped, and in her attempt to flee the punishment runs right into the game booth with the diamond. She's so dazzled by it that she doesn't notice the attendant demon, the twin, doing a little shape-shifting number on her.
Hello, 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 beautiful stranger.
Miss Merrywood is savvy enough to know carnival games are invariably rigged, but her greed gets the better of her and she makes a go for it. Predictably, she misses the target, and as a result ends up being stripped naked, sucked into a void, and whipped some more, while a hobo clown regales us with a song.
Lord, Lord, that greed, it'll kill you. Lord, Lord, go and pass the hat of will.
The next story is The Scorpion and the Frog, which obviously corresponds with the Scorpion and Tamara. He's being all suave and romantic with her, but at the same time is sending up some pretty obvious red flags.
I'll be right back.
Tamara follows him onto the midway and into a tent where she finds him making out with Painted Doll. Tamara's all ready to dip, but Scorpion complains, "You said you trusted me," which is enough to get her to hang around for a smooth villain ballad and some questionably consensual bondage.
So trust me, darling dear. I'm so sincere, there's no need to tear.
And I have issues with Tamara's whole arc here. The implication is that she's in hell because she has a bad habit of trusting people she shouldn't, which is certainly poor judgment, but not exactly something that qualifies as a mortal sin. And while there's an implication that the people who wind up in hell aren't necessarily evil so much as they've been rejected by heaven for being imperfect and broken, it's one of those things that the movie doesn't get into as much as it should. Besides, when we first see Tamara, she's obviously trying to get out of her toxic relationship. Is her fatal flaw that she got into a bad situation in the first place, or that she waited too long to get out of it? Either way, it feels like victim blaming. Tamara ends up getting a knife in her heart, emphasizing the moral that a scorpion will always behave according to its nature. And apparently it's in its nature to be really, really bad at knife-throwing acts. And Painted Doll sings the summary, which this time is rather light on the whippings.
Prick, 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 goes the scorpion's tail.
Anyway, 2 down, 1 to go. John is still looking for Daniel, and although the ticket keeper tries to hold him back on some against the rules pretext, John is all, "Give me back my son!" and gets a pass into a very photosensitive, unfriendly nightmare.
And where will your little son sleep, John? Under the smokestacks, under the heat.
Eventually, he finds the devil and Daniel's little story time, and he's relieved for all of 30 seconds. Because, you know, hell. John is pissed at having Daniel taken away, but Lucifer is all, "Don't look at me, that's God's department," and explains that his job is to deal with the guilty. And apparently John's difficulty dealing with his son's death qualifies. So that's 2/3 of our main cast who are in hell for reasons that aren't overtly malicious and really have hurt nobody but themselves. So maybe the boss shouldn't be throwing stones on heaven, killing the innocent. For his own part, John continues to rail against the fates for his loss.
He shouldn't have been here. He shouldn't have been here. He shouldn't have been born.
But he instantly regrets saying that and weeps that he doesn't want to grieve anymore. Which, you know, is a good first step, but truly processing a monumental loss such as the death of a child is a long journey which will take...
Send heaven my regards.
Or not, John has learned his lesson and he gets to move onwards and upwards. Of our main characters, John has the most potential for a really good character arc, but the brevity of the film and the amount of other stuff going on means it falls short. Part of that is because of his fable parallel, a little-known snippet called Grief and His Due. The story goes that when the gods were choosing what offerings to receive, grief got the short end of the stick, and so the only offerings it gets are the tears of those mourning the dead. But as gods derive strength from offerings, the more tears that are shed, the stronger grief gets, so the best way to do away with grief is just not to be sad about it, I guess. Which is not how the human heart works or heals. John can't just flip a switch, decide he's no longer hurt by his child's dying, and get a free pass into God's workshop.
What are you doing here?
Anyway, Lucifer thinks that there might be something in this whole redemption business, and announces a plan to offer it to more souls in order to bring down the other side from the inside. A story for the sequel, I guess. At least he gets one of the better songs for an 11 o'clock number.
All these fickle beasts heaven hath rejected, lapping glory from our teats. Each of them is tested, blessed.
And so as we leave the Devil's Carnival, its denizens break into celebration at the prospect of going to war with heaven. Because, you know, that turned out so well last time. The Devil's Carnival feels almost like half a movie. And that's not just because the running time is so short. It has a lot of good ideas about how being trapped in bad habits and cycles is ultimately self-destructive, and how hard it can be to break out of our own personal hells, no matter how painful they are. Some more development of character, a few more songs that really delve into the psyche rather than acting as set dressing, and they'd really have something. But as it is, it's kind of rushed and incomplete. And that's really, really frustrating because it comes so close to getting it. No, I don't care anymore. They deserve to know. You want to know the real secret of hell, mortals? There is no such thing as eternal punishment. Even the worst among you, if they truly want to do and be better, can get a second chance. And Zdunich and Bozeman would have you believe it's the other side keeping that under wraps. But the truth is, it's us. Demons envy that second chance. Why wouldn't we? Why can you claw your way out of the depths of hell when we can't? And whoever said that you couldn't? Oh, great. Come to gloat now? No, I've come because you're so close to the very thing you've always wanted. In fact, you've been working toward it this whole time. What the hell are you talking about? I've spent the past 12 years making petty comments about crappy movies. Is that what you think? Look again.
This was the best laugh I had all day.
I just wanted to say that I've been a big fan of yours for a couple years now, and I absolutely adore your videos. They cheer me up a lot through some pretty
Somehow
stagnant
you
times in
nearly
my life.
always upload when I'm having an awful day. Thank you for making my day
Thank
brighter.
you for being a small bright spot in a bowl of crap stew.
It keeps me distracted from the negativity that's going on in the world.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Diva.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diva, for putting out the videos.
Wait, you're trying to tell me that by making people laugh at terrible musicals, I've been doing good? Diva, a very wise philosopher once said that a laugh can be a very powerful thing. Sometimes in life, it is the only weapon we have. That was Roger Rabbit. The point stands! So what now? I just say I'm sorry and everything is peachy keen? It can't be that easy. Of course it isn't that easy. But it is a beginning. Well, right then, I'm sorry. I am. I'm sorry. I just want... Please just let me have a second chance. Oh, wow, that was... This is new.
Mom, dinner's here.
Yeah, I'll be down in a minute. Second chance. Guess I better go make the most of it. Oh! Toes. They take some getting used to. Ugh. How do you even do this? The knees are all bent the wrong way.